ASEAN Bank, as you all know, was formed in 2002, and since then, events such as this have been held annually to enhance the interaction and engagement between public and private sectors. This regular engagement clearly demonstrates the commitment of ASEAN governments in acknowledging the critical role of the private sector in economic development and regional integration. I would like to specifically mention the fact that we do welcome very, very warmly and eagerly the participation of the private sector of our ASEAN neighbors in the development of our country. So let me take this opportunity to say I invite you all to join in the development of Myanmar. The ASEAN economy has grown tremendously in recent decades, becoming the 7th largest economy in the world. Everybody knows that, but I think it bears repeating, because some people do not realize what an achievement this is. Already they're taking it for granted that ASEAN is a dynamic economic region, but it didn't just happen. Everybody had to work towards it. And we, Myanmar, is one of the newer comers. Although we have been a member of ASEAN now for 20 years, I think perhaps we have not acquired the full 20 years worth of experience. And we look to you to help us to gain this experience. The ASEAN economy is invigorated by a significant proportion of young people in our labor force, which is the 3rd largest after China and India. Since 2004, ASEAN's annual GDP growth has averaged over 5%, outpacing that of any other region. Myanmar is a member of the ASEAN family, and our economy too has been growing rapidly as we roll out rigorous reforms and structural changes in every sector. I would also like to mention that our young entrepreneurs are among the most vigorous of the lot, and I was very happy to discover in a recent seminar of young entrepreneurs that 49% of them were women. So our women are doing very well. Significant reforms can especially be seen in the investment sector as visible progress is being made to ensure a level playing field, to strengthen competition, and to create a favorable, predictable, and friendly investment climate. Central to all of this is the role of the private sector, which has been enabled through various mechanisms that include, but are not limited to, private-public partnership arrangements, which ensure that the public sector plays an important role in developing major hard and soft infrastructure projects that will contribute in no small measure towards the economic development of our nation. I would also like to mention that we depend for our economic development on the enhancement of integrity. I think that's a better way of saying than getting rid of putting it than just saying getting rid of corruption. I was talking earlier about the new possibilities that have opened up in our country. And I couldn't help mentioning the fact that some of those who had been engaged in business in Myanmar previously say that it was much easier then because then you only knew whom you had to bribe. It's a lot more difficult now because you have to know how to do business in the right way. Integrity plus business. Various steps such as establishing one-stop service centers, adopting the concept of a single window system, developing online electronic application systems, and so on are being taken to reduce bureaucratic red tape and to create an enabling business environment in which private entities can flourish. For Myanmar, newly emerged from decades of economic and political isolation, and amid the recent global economic slowdown, there are many challenges. Yet, despite these, we remain committed to stay the course to achieve inclusive and sustainable development together with all ASEAN countries. As a responsible member of ASEAN, Myanmar will work together with all ASEAN family members to become more connected and integrated economically and socially. In the process of such integration, human capital, our intellectual and creative resources play a pivotal role in filling the gap between diverse ASEAN member countries at different stages of economic and social development. Myanmar hosted the International Women's Forum in 2013 to acknowledge the important role women play in economic and social development, the vital role played by the creativity and resilience of women in our country's transformation, and the need for women's perspective to bring about sustainable social change. More and more women entrepreneurs have emerged to participate vigorously in the transformation, demonstrating the increasing importance of women in the social, but also in the economic sphere. I should mention here that traditionally, our women have always been at the forefront of business. When I was a child, I was brought up to understand that men usually went into the civil service for prestige, and women did business to keep the family fires alive, to keep the kitchen going. So we always depended on our women to make sure that our families were economically secure. This is why it's not such a surprise that 49% of our young entrepreneurs are women. While I'm delighted to witness the active participation of women entrepreneurs in the private sector, I'm also inspired by the millions of women who toil each day, holding their heads high in the face of every adversity, saving and sacrificing so that our children can enjoy a better life. All these women should be empowered for themselves as well as for their families, and for the contribution to the transformation of Myanmar. For their shared contributions across ASEAN, the lived experiences that cement the integration of our countries into a common family are absolutely invaluable. Our women put a great premium on education. They always have, and this is one of the reasons why we have great hopes for the future of our country, for the future of our young people who will be encouraged to increase their abilities and their skills by their mothers, their sisters, their wives. The majority of enterprises in Myanmar led by women entrepreneurs are small and medium-sized. Being SMEs, challenges are everywhere and range across access to finance, access to markets, access to land, access to information, and access to technology. And as if these challenges were not enough, women have to cope with gender discrimination as well. There are those who say that there is no gender discrimination in our country, but this is not true. It is tradition to look upon the men as a superior gender. There is a Burmese saying, which I find somewhat reprehensible, that you must treat your son like a lord and your husband like a god. I don't think I quite agree with that. And I don't think the women here agree either. So there is gender discrimination. It is true that we are not discriminated in the sense of being debarred from any activities such as doing business or going in for various professions, but still there is the underlying traditional concept that men are superior, and there are still many mothers who favor their sons above their daughters, especially when it comes to educational opportunities. And yet, paradoxically, at the same time, they all realize that it's their daughters that they have to rely on, that they cannot really rely on the sons to look after them in their old age. In spite of that, the mothers go on favoring the boys. Measures need to be taken to empower women to overcome social constraints, strengthen their potential, and unleash their economic power to contribute towards the nation's development. Report after report by scholars in international organizations assert the importance of gender equality. It is sometimes said that the one unambiguous and non-trivial fact in economic development literature is a strong and statistically significant correlation between the empowerment of women and economic growth. A landmark study by the FAO demonstrated that closing the gender gap in agricultural decision-making would lead to a 20 to 30% increase in farm yield. In Myanmar, women account for approximately half of the agricultural workforce. However, too often, they are confined to farm labor and not properly recognized as a major driver of farm decision-making, from crop selection to planting times. And much too frequently, they are excluded from land entitlement. To achieve positive change in women's rights, it is important to increase the number of girls enrolling in primary and secondary school, improve the participation of women in the labor force, ensure better maternal health outcomes, provide more solid social protection measures, and promote the role of women in decision-making. In the education sector, we can say that in my country, women are going ahead of their men. Already in Rangoon University, 60% of the students are girls. So it shows that they're doing better in the education sector. And increasingly, the professors of our most important faculties are becoming women. Actually, I'm not quite sure where the men have gone to, because they haven't come into the civil service, and they're not going into academia. They may be going into business, but our women are very strong there too. So I often have to ask this question, where have all the men gone? The participation of women in recent social, political, and economic changes is remarkable in many countries. However, women are still missing out on opportunities in countless areas. The social norm that equates women with unskilled labor and perceives them as mere homemakers, incapable of making decisions, is one of our biggest challenges. In recognition of the importance of women's role in the achievement of economic and social development, Myanmar has developed a 10-year national strategic plan for the advancement of women. This plan is based on the 12 priority areas of the Beijing Platform for Action and the principles of the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women, to which Myanmar became a signatory in 1997. Our plan is ambitious but achievable, and Myanmar is committed to creating an enabling environment for women that will allow them to realize their full potential. It is said that women hold up half the sky, but I would rather say that they nurture half, and probably more than half, of the earth, because it is the earth that we have to deal with on an everyday basis. And we need our women to be stronger here, where we live, where we struggle, and where we will create the future for our young. The contribution of women towards economic and social development can be significant not only in my country, but throughout our region and throughout the world. By recognizing this potential, let us create an environment where women can unleash their economic power for our countries individually, for our integrated community that we call ASEAN, and for a better world. Today, there is a growing recognition that the well-being of a nation is not only a function of its wealth in natural resources, but also of the knowledge and skills of its people. The experience of newly industrialized countries, such as South Korea and Singapore, serve to underscore that increased knowledge and skills can bring about better economic outcomes for both individuals and nations. The quality of human resources of a country certainly has a bearing on its economic development. Human capital development is therefore a key to the social and economic development of countries. Developing countries must strive to develop human capital. This can be done through education and training to produce a qualified workforce that can compete in the changing economic global environment. In today's world, human capital development is essential for attaining sustainable economic growth and development. Education has an important role to play in the development of human capital for all of us. Investment in education can help to promote faster economic growth. I was asked to speak on two themes, empowering women and human capital development. But actually, empowering women is a form of human capital development. Our, if you like, women capital development. Because women are an important part of our human capital. But as we seek to empower women and to develop human capital, I would like us to think more about what we mean by power and what we mean by capital. Are we thinking only in material terms, that power is economic power and that capital is economic capital, material capital that will give us clout? What is empowerment for? And what is development about? Is it simply to develop our countries materially, or to develop our peoples as to become better human beings? This may seem very old-fashioned these days to think of developing as better human beings rather than as materially more powerful countries. But perhaps it is time we think about these things, because Myanmar, as a young democracy struggling with many, many challenges, has become fully aware of the need for development of peoples as human beings, not just economic powerhouses. And our women too need to be empowered to become better human beings as well as better economic players. So as we go forward, trying to empower our women and to develop our human capital, perhaps we should think about why we are doing it, where we are heading, and where we wish to reach. I do not think that we can get the answers to all these questions immediately, and I do not think the answers can always remain the same. The answers must change as the needs of our times change. But I would like to conclude with these questions, asking you what you think empowerment is for, how you think empowerment can help not just our women, but our world to be a better place, what you think development is about, and how we can use human development to build up a bigger store of capital for all human beings, not just for particular countries who are part of the economic functioning of the world. Thank you.